Good evening. Welcome, everyone. Happy Thursday, and welcome to the Man Cave. Brother Jeff is high in his mountain retreat this weekend. Tanya is high in the upper towers of the Man Cave in the control booth. So, how is everybody tonight? Hank's with us. Hank, glad you could make it in. I'm ready for a drink, guys. I haven't had one all week. The last drink I had was with you guys here last Thursday night, so I'm definitely ready to pour something. Jeff, are you having a drink with us tonight?
Yes, I am.
Jack,
Number
Jack
7.
Daniel. I'm gonna get into this black label bonded Jack Daniels again. I'm getting pretty far down in that bottle. I'm gonna be about ready to buy another one soon. This is my second bottle of this. I've really enjoyed this one. It's it's a regular offering from Jack Daniels now, so it's definitely a good one. Tanya,
Mhm.
what are you drinking?
Well, I'm having Cheerwine, Nectar of
Sure wine.
Gods.
Okay, so cheers, everybody. Fran is having some Zinfandel. Fran is from British Columbia. Is that's Tanya? Did you say we were going to Vancouver next year or something?
It looks like there's a very strong possibility, yes, that I might have to
Okay,
go to Vancouver.
Russ, glad you could make it. Excellent, Cannon. Good crowd. Everybody, all of the regulars are here. Uh, oh boy, let me just have another sip of that ginger tea.
Sign me up for that.
Honorog's. He must have a night class, or see what is it? It's 5:30 out there where he is. So he must be having a night class.
Well, let me tell you, you're not the only one that had a bad day. So I'm there with you. We'll stick together, buddy.
Hey Andy, glad you could make it. Andy sent me a message a little while ago. Said he didn't think he was going to make it, but I'm glad he did. Russ, it's not really that. It's gotten cool here this week. It's gotten down in the low 30s here at night for the last couple of nights, and that's one of the things we're going to talk about down here in my man cave. I enjoy the fact that even in the heat of the summer, down here it never really gets up above about 68 degrees. But in the wintertime down here, it gets cool. Right now, it's like 63 degrees down here. And as the weather gets cooler outside, it'll get down around 60 and it'll stay about 60 degrees, 58 to 60 degrees in my man cave throughout the winter. I don't bother and run a heater down here. I just throw a hoodie on. So, Scott, glad you can make it in too. So,
I do have a question, though.
what's that?
What's a chispa?
Chispa? I don't know. Janice, what is that? Janice will have to tell us. I'm not familiar with that one either. So maybe she'll tell us what a chispa is. Okay. Well, so I hope everybody had a good week of cooking this week and last weekend. Uh, I tried to get a little extra stuff done this week. Tanya, we're going to bring you back here in a little bit.
Okay, I'm gonna snuggle with Lily.
Okay. Jeff did a little cooking this week. So
Very little.
it's a pork loin.
Yep. The other
So
part of
what do
that
you do
pork loin from Costco, the $10 off on the pack.
Yeah, is that's half a loin, I'm guessing, right
Yep.
there. Half of
Yep.
it.
Yep.
What'd you do with the other half?
Ate it last week.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So what'd you do with this one?
This one is with the Sweetwater butts and ribs brine again overnight, and then Lane's spellbound on it,
Hmm.
and that came out just fantastic. Did it at 200 on the bark and let it ride at 200 until I had the internal temperature of about 132. I took it off.
Right. And then this is what you ended up with.
Yeah. It was so good. That right there is good sandwich meat. If nothing else, make one of those for sandwiches.
You know, this I did pork loin today too, and we'll see some pictures of that here in a minute. But I'm thinking about making some more Canadian bacon uh,
Yeah.
with pork loin. I've done it. I think I've made two different videos in the past, maybe on Canadian bacon. But today I was also looking at making some tasso. I think I might like to do that. Um, in fact, I've got a pork butt that I don't know. Uh, I like tasso, and I've had a couple of the. There used to be a restaurant in Hickory that had a really intriguingly good shrimp and grits, and it had tasso on it on top of it, along with the
Hmm.
sauce, and it was
Brings a
just
lot of
really
flavor.
yeah. It's a tasso's a Cajun thing, really.
Hmm.
It's pork butt that's been cured and cooked like a ham. You cook it up to about 140 or 150 degrees internal and stop it there, and then you dice that stuff and you use it in other things. You don't really eat tasso by itself. It's not something that is a main course protein. It's something that you add. You know, you can dice it. I think a lot of people might put that in gumbo or in a jambalaya even, or
Yep.
just whatever you might want to add something to bring a spicy, hammy flavor to it. And I might make some. I've looked at a couple of different techniques for making it, and it's not complicated. So maybe we'll do tasso sometime soon. But Jeff, that loin looks delicious.
It was fantastic.
You make sandwiches with that?
Well, we had it one night with roll ups and had sandwiches and chopped some up for ham or for salad.
Hmm. Since I've learned to cook pork loin properly, uh, I really enjoy it myself. Pork loin and pork chops. Since I've learned not to overcook them, so
That's the big thing. A lot of people out there are still, taking their pork, and the 160 and upwards, and I'm
yeah,
going,
it gets dry and tough. Every one I've cooked
yep,
that high's not. It's dry and tough.
no,
Now there is something to be said. You can pork loins kind of like some other meats. If you keep on going with it and take it up to around 200 degrees, you can shred it. And
yeah,
I have had a lot of pork barbecue in the past that's made from pork loin. Likes the tasso separate from the shrimp. It's spicy enough. Well, yeah, I agree with you there. It could be, but I think you need to use it in moderation. It's not something you would put a lot of it on there. It would be like a bacon crumble, just a
yeah,
small amount. Uh, but
really
yeah,
diced very fine.
and also you can, if you're going to make your own tasso, you can control that. You can decide how much cayenne pepper you want on that. Uh, that meat gets seasoned before it gets smoked, and typically in the traditional Cajun style, they're not going to shy away from cayenne pepper. But if, like I said, if you're making it yourself, you can do whatever you want with it. You could just use a small amount of cayenne pepper or not use any at all, or you don't even have to make it with a Cajun flavor blend if you don't want to. So that's something, in fact, if I make taco, I'll probably break the bone out of the pork butt and slice the butt into individual pieces, and that way I could season up several of them with different seasonings for uh, different tasks, maybe because uh, I would most likely vacuum seal most of that and throw it straight in the freezer when I'm done with it, so I can hold it
Yep.
till there's something I want to do with it. But in fact, I watched several videos today, and one of the best videos I saw today on how to make good tasso was from All Things Barbecue. Uh,
Chef
out in
Tom.
Chef Tom, yeah, Chef Tom Jackson
Yeah.
did one, and he didn't he didn't he used what I would consider to be a fairly traditional. Cajun seasoning blend. It had a lot of cayenne and a lot of white. He used white pepper, ground white pepper in his, but the amount of that and the cayenne pepper that went in that seasoning was pretty stiff. So uh, if you want to see how that's made, go have a look. You can see on YouTube. YouTube's how I learned to do a lot of stuff. I'll get a lot of ideas. I'll go if I decide to make tasso. I'll probably watch 4 or 5 or 6
Yep.
videos on it and see. I'll look at the different methods people are doing and then figure out how I want to do mine. But Chef Tom did his, and his cure, the cure part of his was only 3 or 4 or 5 hours, or maybe it was 6 hours. I think
I think it was
uh,
6 hours. The same video
it
I
was a
watched.
short. It was a short cure. It wasn't very long. Um, but he did use the pink salt, so that's something that it works out. But tasso is some. I think Tanya will enjoy tasso. I don't know if she's had tasso or not. Let me find out. Tanya, have you had this before?
I think I have.
Uh, I remember the last time I recall actually having it myself was when we were at Highland Avenue.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, and I think I
Yeah,
tried a bite of yours there.
but it's really good, and
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe we'll make some. So, all right, we'll bring you back shortly. But tasso is definitely on the agenda. So let's one of the things, a couple of things I wanted to talk about this week uh, in my cooking wheelhouse. Since we got to the, let me find my pictures here. Okay, since we had some cool weather this week. The first thing I thought about when I saw that the temperatures were going to be dropping into the 30s is I'm ready to do some cold smoking because my cold smoked cheese supply is depleted. It's gone. And in fact, the last batch of cheese that I smoked, I actually over smoked it. I put so much smoke on it that I didn't like it. And that's not something I normally do. But these are two of the devices I use for cold smoking, uh, and I recommend everybody get one of each of these. I'm going to talk about both of them. The one on the left is a 5 by 8 inch stainless steel maze, and you put pellets in there, the same kind of pellets that you'd fire a pellet grill with, and you need a torch also. You can use a culinary torch, but you need a little torch of some sort to light these things to get them going because you have to hold that torch on there for a while and let those pellets catch on fire and let them burn with a visible flame on the end there for 2 or 3 minutes before you blow them out and let them start smoking because that's what it takes to keep it going. But that pellet maze on the left there, when you load that thing up even with the top on pellets and light one end of it, you're going to get that thing regularly gives me 12 hours of smoke. It's not a whole lot of smoke, but it's 12 hours worth. And the one on the right, I've got 3 of these actually. I've got 2 of them there that are that hexagon shape. And I like that hexagon shape because they won't roll on you, they'll stay where you put them. I've got a 6 inch version of that one and a 12-inch version of that one. And I've got a 12-inch round one also, but I find myself using the hexagon shaped one the most. Because, like I said, I can set it on a grill somewhere and don't have to worry about it rolling or moving. But the 6 inch one, when I light that guy up, I'm going to get 2 hours of smoke out of that. And I get 2 hours and you get a fairly heavy smoke. You get a lot more smoke with that one. The trade off between these two devices is the one on the left produces less smoke for a longer period of time, but it also produces less heat. And the only time the amount of heat you're dealing with is of concern is if you're doing something like cheese. In my experience with cold smoking cheese, you've got to keep the temperature in my experience, down below 75 degrees Fahrenheit or so, because if that cheese starts to sweat, it makes a mess and it doesn't do well. So I like to use I use this pellet maze most of the time when I'm cold smoking cheese. But this week, since the temperatures here were going to be down in the 30s, I went ahead and used the tube. And this, I've just got this sitting on my Kamado Joe. I used the grill grate on my Kamado Joe to get this going. I've got one of those map torches that I use to light this thing with, and I light the torch and give it about 30 or 45 seconds on the pellets, and then pull it away and let it burn just like you see it here for just a couple of minutes before I blow the flame out to let it smoke. Jeffrey, I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to show you a picture here in just a minute. I actually use the bark, the pellet grill, to do this in, because, guys, one of the problems when you're wanting to do cheese is keeping it cool. And unfortunately, your Kamado grills are the worst thing you can use. It is harder to keep it cool in a Kamado grill than it is in about any other grill, because they're designed to be that way. And it's cold smoke, even when it's 30 degrees outside, I have trouble keeping it down under 80 in the Kamado with these cold smokers. I'll show you some tricks you can use though, but I got this cold smoker going here, and I stuffed it in the very back corner of my Myron Mixon bark. And the bark's got a pretty big cooking chamber in it, and it's quite insulated as well, as Jeff can attest. So what I did, or first I'll show you what I did here in a minute. The cheese that I got, Tanya and I were at the grocery store the other day, and this Cabot brand cheese, they had this stuff on sale for $2 a block. So I bought 4 blocks of this habanero cheddar and 4 blocks of this Vermont extra sharp cheddar. And I cut each one of those in half just so I can get a little bit additional surface for the smoke. And I put them on a tray on a grate and set them up on the upper rack of the bark. And then I closed the door on the bark. But I used one of my grill tools to keep the door propped open where the lid was not shutting all the way, so some of the ambient air can still get inside. And I put a wireless thermometer in there. I put this this temp spike, this version of the meter, this wireless probe that I showed you guys before. I stuck it in there just to keep up with how hot it got. And the outside temperature came up to about 45 or 48 degrees before I was finished with this smoke, and it only gotten up to about 66 inside the bark. So that worked out really well. So I know that 2 hours worth of smoke off of that tube is enough for me when it comes to cheese. And this is what it looked like. You can kind of see how this stuff's taking on some color from the smoke in there. And that's a little bit closer picture, but here we go. I brought them back inside, and I don't have a before and after to show you how these things took on some color from the smoke, but they do. So what I do at this point is I let those sit for an hour or so. Some people like to let them sit longer than that before they do anything with them, but I've tried it both ways and can't really find any benefit to doing it one way or the other. So I vacuum sealed this stuff and tossed it in the refrigerator. Jeff, you've cold smoked some cheese, right?
Yep.
Okay. What's your minimum rest time on that stuff before you think it's ready to eat?
I like to go a minimum of 1 week, preferably 2.
I'm at the 2. I like 2. I posted some pictures of some of this stuff on the Man Cave Meals Facebook page earlier this week. Got some good questions, and one of the guys said that he was going to try it again, but he was going to have to use a lot less smoke because it had the cheese that he smoked tasted like a cigarette ashtray. And this stuff will taste like a cigarette ashtray today. And I told him, I said, you just need to let it age. That flavor will go away and it'll become amazing, but it does take a little bit of time. And I have tried it in a week, and it's edible in a week, and it doesn't really have that ashtray flavor. It is a little pungent maybe at a week, but 2 weeks.
2 is better.
2 to 3 weeks is good. And I have kept smoked cheese in my refrigerator for up to a year, and I've eaten it, and it's still good if it's vacuum if you keep it vacuum sealed. And I use my chamber sealer. I don't know. I don't. Did you vacuum seal yours, Jeff?
Yeah.
You're using a regular food saver.
Well, at the time when I did it last, I had the food saver, but now I have the magic pack, which is a whole lot better.
Did you have any issues with shelf life on stuff that you had done with the food saver?
No, no.
'Cause I haven't tried. I haven't done any of this with the food saver, so I don't know if it's any better, worse, or otherwise with it.
Nope,
All I
it
know
was
is
all good.
the chamber sealer does well, and I've been able to keep this stuff for a really long time. So, uh, Scott, I love smoked Gouda, and I've smoked Gouda. I don't. Many times I've smoked Gouda. Brian, I used hickory on this week because that's I'm trying to migrate completely to hickory with my pellet grill. Uh, I have I've got two bags. The current two bags that I have are hickory, and what's in my pellet hopper on the bark right now is the last little bit of the Southwest blend that I bought that has some mesquite in it. But I'm going back to hickory, 100% hickory on the pellet grill because one of the things that Jeff and I've learned over time is that lower temperatures for longer periods of time make better barbecue on a pellet grill. And I'm also finding that it's improved when you use a little bit more intensive smoke flavor. And I've been working with this Southwest blend, but I'm going strictly to hickory. And the current stuff I have here is the brand that I have is Bear Mountain. And yes, Scott, it just goes in the refrigerator, and I keep it in one of the enclosed drawers in the refrigerator. And Carl, you just fill the tube as full as it'll go. Uh, you have to fill it completely full to get it to light and burn efficiently. But uh, hickory's my pellet of choice. You can use any kind of pellets you like. The key to smoking cheese is the exact same situation with smoking meat. Err on the side of caution if you're just learning how to do it. Uh, don't over smoke it. You'll never have cheese that's bad because it doesn't have enough smoke on it. You'll have cheese that you don't like that's got too much smoke on it. So experiment with it if you want to do this. Start out with less, and
This is another case that less is more.
yeah, uh, you can kind of see how mine's discolored there. But if I had used my maize on this one that makes less smoke for a longer time, I would have probably gone for 4 or 5 hours with that one instead of the 2 hours with the tube. I'm not sure if I understand Chris's question. Will the smoke infuse throughout, leaving for 2 to 3 weeks? It doesn't really infuse throughout. It's pretty much all on the surface. But what's happening is the flavor that it's created is maturing during that time. It's not really penetrating deeply into the cheese. It's just an aromatic and flavor element that's on the outside of the cheese. That's one of the things that you can benefit with if you know what you're doing and what you're going to do with the cheese. Is if you want more smoke on the cheese, you cut the cheese into more pieces and create more surface area. Uh, that's my recommendation. And once again, guys, it's something you want to play with. But those cold smokers are easy to find on Amazon. In fact, I went to look for the brand that I have on those hexagon ones, and I couldn't even find it. And but there are a bunch of knockoffs on Amazon now, and they're not very expensive. The maize is more expensive than the tubes. I saw a couple of situations where you could get a 6 inch and a 12-inch hexagon shaped tube on Amazon for get the pair of them for $16. Jordan, I've never cold smoked nuts before. I hot smoke the almonds that I smoked for Tanya. Uh, the trick to the smoking nuts, I guess you could cold smoke them, but when I smoke almonds, I toss them in a very small amount of oil and get a very light coat of oil on them, and then I season them with whatever kind of seasoning we're going to use for that situation. But the nut, if you're going to cold smoke nuts, you're going to need to put something on them to get the smoke to adhere, because most nuts have a surface that's not as conducive to getting smoke to stick to it. But the almonds that I smoke, they get. I think I use a teaspoon. It's either I think it's a teaspoon or so per cup, or per cup of, yeah, I guess it's a teaspoon per cup of almonds, and I just toss them in that, and that gives the smoke something to adhere to. But I smoke those almonds for a half an hour at 250. uh, I'm not, and those are raw almonds. I'm trying to roast the almonds at the same, kind of give them a little bit of a roast at the same time. Jeff, if you smoke nuts.
Yes, I like doing it at a higher temperature.
Yeah, I've never tried to cold smoke any, so I don't know the answer to that question. If any of you guys have cold smoked nuts before, let us know how you did it and how they came out. Because I don't know.
I think nuts is one of those things you kind of got to heat it up to open the pores so it'll accept the smoke.
Right. So I'm not real sure on the cold smoking of the peanuts or peanuts. Honorog said you can hot smoke if the nuts are raw. I guess that probably does make a difference, because if you had nuts, if you had roasted peanuts and you wanted to smoke those, I guess it's a thing. See, I don't know enough about nuts. I don't eat them. I don't eat nuts, so I don't know what happens if you take a roasted peanut and hot smoke it. So Ryan, what kind did you smoke at 250? Were you smoking almonds? And all the almonds I smoke are always raw. I've never smoked roasted almonds. I buy the raw ones. Sam's Club usually has the 3 pound bags of roasted almonds for like $12 to $14, and I usually do 3 pounds at a time. I have to check with Tanya tonight. I don't know if we're out of those or not. She hasn't mentioned them lately, but this is the time of year that's a good time to buy nuts. So,
I'm for sale.
yeah. So nice. He smoked a mix. So those are probably roasted already. So if they were okay, I would think that 250 is not really going to re-roast a nut,
Yeah.
because nuts, I'm guessing, if I had to take a stab at it, I figure those nuts are roasted north of 350 or higher when they're initially roasted for that. So we're not really roasting at 250, I don't guess. So the next thing I did this week, I started this project yesterday, and this is something we talked about a couple of weeks ago when you guys were giving me some ideas of stuff to do for the holiday season. This is going to be the first thing I did along those lines. We talked about making cranberry sauce, and I I wanted to do cranberry sauce, but I wanted to do something to put it on. So we did a pork roast. I had a really nice center cut piece of pork loin here. This is about a 3 pound slab of center cut pork loin, and it looked really nice. So what I did, I didn't take the fat cap off. I just decided to score the fat cap. So I scored it, and then I tied this guy up. I don't like the way pork loins flatten out. I like to truss mine as tightly as I can, so I can kind of try to maintain most of that round shape. So that's what I did here. I tied it up really tightly, and then I seasoned it with. That's just a picture of the back side of the tie. I seasoned it with the Man Cave Magic #2, which is my go-to homemade pork rub, and I put a good coat of that on there last night, and I let it set up. I didn't use a binder of any kind, but I let it set up, and then I put it in a vacuum seal bag and tossed it in the refrigerator overnight to let it dry/wet brine in that rub with the salt in it overnight before I got up and cooked that thing this morning. So this morning I took it out and I we cooked this later. So after I got that prepped, I made my cranberry sauce, and here's just what the ingredients are that go in my cranberry sauce. I bought one of those 12-ounce bags of fresh cranberries at the grocery store. Those are as good as any, and I've had good results with these every time I've made them. So everything else that went in to this cranberry sauce, you can see right here. I've got a lemon, and what I used here is I used some lemon zest, and I used a little bit of lemon juice. I've got some salt in this little container here. I've got brown sugar, and I've got water. So in a saucepan, I got my water hot and then dumped in the brown sugar and salt and stirred that until they were completely dissolved and the water was starting to come to a simmer. And then I tossed in the cranberries. And this process goes quickly. It doesn't take but about 15 minutes to make this cranberry sauce once it starts. Once your water's hot, let me see if I can see it here. Yeah, you can see it here. If you look at this picture closely, you can see that these cranberries, the skin on them, they're splitting. As they heat, they open up and the skin splits on them, and you can hear these things popping in the saucepan. They make noise. It almost sounds like popcorn, but it's not a crack. More so, it's more like a thump when one of these things opens up. So once that sugar water comes to a simmer, that's 1 cup of water and 1 cup of sugar. Once that comes to a simmer, you back the heat down. You don't, because with that much sugar, that'll get out of control if you let the heat go too high. And you just kind of want to slow simmer that. And I slow simmered that with the lid on for about 10 minutes. And at that point, I opened it back up and I added my lemon zest, I added my lemon juice, and I added a splash of that Elijah Craig bourbon. And basically at that point, I just turned the heat off and I stirred that a little bit and just long enough to evaporate some of the alcohol off of that bourbon, not all of it. I didn't want to get all of it out of there. And guys, the bourbon's also optional. It's not something you have to put in there. It's just something I kind of enjoy. But that sauce has a beautiful texture to it right there. And all you got to do, if you want to make this sauce a day ahead of time or a week ahead of time, you can do that. I made mine yesterday and I put it in a container and put it in the refrigerator. And today I just brought it back out, put it back in a saucepan and heated it back up before I was ready to serve it. So this morning I took the pork loin out of the wrapper and we had, let's see here. It had been, I guess it had been in there for 12, somewhere 12 to 14 hours. And I got my Kamado Joe Classic fired up to 350. And I had a good bit of cherry. I had some cherry wood. I've got a lot of cherry wood, so I'm trying to use it up. I put 4 or 5 chunks of cherry on there and had a really nice smoke rolling. And I put this guy in there at 350 and closed it up. And this is about 30 minutes into that. It took me about an hour, somewhere between an hour and 10 minutes to get to this point. And at this point, the internal temperature in this pork loin is about 132. And I decided then I'm ready to take that off because I don't like my pork loin to finish up above 140. I like it to stay at or below 140 as much as possible. And I wrapped it up in foil and brought it inside and let it rest for about 15 minutes before I cut it. So here's the picture of it after I unwrapped it. And here we are sliced into it. There is, as you can tell by looking at this, there is no pink here. I didn't, so that's telling me that it did get to at least 140 because I'm finding that 140 is the point at which the pink goes away inside of pork loin. And it's I'm okay with it at 135, but a lot of people don't like to see the pink there. But this thing, this angle doesn't really show how juicy this is. This next picture, I'm hoping you can see how moist that is. I sliced off 4 pieces of it and laid it on that plate, and you can see a little bit of a smoke ring we have on there. And then I just drizzled some of that warm cranberry sauce on top of this, and guys, it's off the hook. It is absolutely amazing. And as for the cranberry sauce, I want to talk for a minute about that because cranberry sauce, there's a lot of people that don't like cranberry sauce. And most of the people I know that don't like cranberry sauce don't like the bitterness that comes with cranberry sauce. But I'm here to tell you if your cranberry sauce is more bitter than you like, there's 2 things you need to do. You need to add another pinch or 2 of salt to it and just add a little bit more sugar. You can work the sweetness or the bitterness out of cranberry sauce if you want to. I like mine to have just a little bit of bitterness to it because I think that's one of the defining characteristics
Attributes.
of cranberries. Yeah, and I like the I guess you could call it a juxtaposition of sweetness and bitterness coming from the same thing. It's not like a sweet and sour. There's nothing sour here. It's definitely a
Tart.
bitterness thing. Yeah. So it's one of those things that, I don't know. I don't know a whole lot of people that really love cranberry sauce as much as I do. Jeff, do you like it? Are you a fan? Jeff
Yeah.
doesn't like it.
No, I
No?
like cranberry
Do
sauce.
you? Okay.
Oh yeah.
Have you made it from scratch before?
Yep.
It's
We
real
use
easy.
Alton Brown's recipe.
What's different about what he does than this? I'm not familiar with his recipe.
Um, you're using brown sugar. He's using white sugar
Hmm.
and no alcohol.
So other than that, does he put lemon zest in his?
Yeah, just a little
Yeah.
bit.
Well, dadgum, I thought maybe that would be something unique.
Yeah, and
Oh well, I don't
and he puts orange juice and honey in it too. A little bit of orange juice, a
know.
little bit of honey.
Okay. Well, the last time I made a video where I made cranberry sauce, I used orange zest in it instead of lemon. You could go either way, or you could use both even. But I wanted something a little acidic on the back end of this
Yeah.
because that's a lot of sweet. It really is. So, uh, let's see here. That's the cooking I did this week. So that's the end of the line for cooking photos. I'm still thinking about what's going to come next week. I think what I'm going to do next week, I may dive into that. I may dive into something with the Brussels sprouts. I've seen some really nice looking Brussels sprouts in the grocery store. Uh, we'll think about that. I'll figure out what I want to do with it. Jordan's smoking a brisket tomorrow, 275 using the double indirect method. Well, I don't know much.
Speaking of
I,
which, briskets are supposed to either be 199 or 299 at Kroger's tomorrow.
oh yeah, I still
Heads
don't know
up,
how far
guys.
away my closest Kroger is. I don't know. I don't know how far I'd have to drive to get to a Kroger. I'll have to look that up. But even at 299, that's a good deal. But Jordan, I don't want to talk bad about the double indirect method, but I understand his theory there, but I cannot fathom the significance of it. In theory, what he's saying there is true, but in a Kamado grill, I don't believe it's making a significant difference. But the real deal is if you feel like it's making a significant difference, then you should do it. And yes, Cindy, I vacuum seal everything. Anything I'm going to keep, I, I use the vacuum sealer is the most used accessory in my kitchen. Bruce is with us tonight. If you roast peanuts, I guess you could. I don't know.
And Jeffrey Spencer, I'm using the Magic Vac Maxima 2. It's got the double pump in it. Works great.
So where was I going? I lost my train of thought. So
That happens more.
I was talking about Brussels sprouts, and then we were talking about brisket. But I haven't. I'm going to do something. I want to do something next week with root vegetables or Brussels sprouts or something. I'm going to come up with something good that we can roast, and I'm probably I'm probably going to figure out something that I can do a hot roast on, and probably I may just do it in the Kamado Joe. I cooked on the Kamado Joe today, and in fact, I had to take my control tower top vent on my classic three was so gunked up. I took it off, and it's over here soaking in a sink of OxyClean right now. It's in bad shape.
Well, Kathy and I were talking today, and we're doing Thanksgiving on 3 different grills. We're going to use the
Yeah,
Bark, going to use the Kamado Joe Classic 3, and then also the Masterbuilt 800. So we shall see what happens.
yeah. My Thanksgiving's going to be done in the oven, hopefully. I'm hoping we're going to have lasagna, and it'll be at my mom's house. If I guess I could cook it on the Kamado Joe down there. Uh, Brian, Jeff, do you know anything about that?
A while back, I mentioned a wood oven coming out that could be an
He may have been thinking about that one that Matt Frampton was talking about when Matt was on with us. What was that? It's not really an alternative to the Alpha. It's more of an alternative to the Rock Box or the Uni. What was that thing?
Yeah, I
Halo.
don't.
It was a Halo oven's what that thing was
Yeah, I
called.
don't remember talking about any alternatives to the Alpha
Yeah,
yet.
I'm gonna get rid of my Alpha and put something else that I use a little bit more in its place. Yeah, I've actually gotten a bite on it, so I'm hoping I might have a buyer.
No,
Uh,
never,
maybe a good smoked
never.
dipping sauce to go with the sprouts. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know what that would come out to be. I mean, you could make a queso. That's one of the things I used to kid myself with. That you can make anything edible if you put enough cheese on it.
Uh-oh,
And
Mom is in the house.
I'll cook it. I'll do it. We talked about it. I'm hoping we can do lasagna. If not, we'll do something else. But I'll make it and I'll cook it. No problem.
John says he's having anything but turkey.
Yeah. So yeah, Bruce just bought a bark this past
Yeah,
week.
Bruce, how you liking that Bark, buddy?
I'm figuring they're probably are they blowing out the existing models to make room for the new
Yeah,
ones?
AGC's got them at I think $400 off, so,
Mhm.
plus free shipping. So that's pretty good.
I
They
figured
should
they'd
be
be
getting
having
the
a
new ones
sale.
in mid-November.
Yeah, that with the new models coming out, they got to get rid of that existing inventory. So yeah,
Bruce
I
loves
haven't
it.
I
It's
haven't
solid, Bruce. I can't wait for Lee to get his.
I haven't talked to Mom yet about. We haven't really discussed Thanksgiving. We talked about Christmas. Our Christmas is going to be on a Monday because of my work schedule, and Thanksgiving. I'm not sure what we're going to do for Thanksgiving yet. We'll have to talk about that. We got a month or better to figure that out. But I'd like to do lasagna. But for Christmas, I'd like to do prime rib if we can make that happen. That's
No, that's not if. It's going to happen because
yeah.
Publix is going to have them on sale again for
Well,
$6.99.
I'm going to get some of that because I'm going to dry age some, and then I want to roast. I want to figure out how many people we're going to feed on Christmas and make prime rib, and then make. I'll probably get a big a strip or filet mignon for Tanya. Let's get Tanya back up
Yeah, I
in
got to
here.
get with them and see if I can get them before they cut the bone off. I'd rather have the bone on.
Let me tell you, you don't not from Publix because you're going to need equipment you don't have to get that bone off of it. Well, you got a bandsaw, don't you?
I need no bandsaw to take the bone off of a.
Have you ever
Prime
taken the
rib?
bone off of one of those things that's not been
I
trimmed?
can't tell you how many hundred of prime rib I've cooked in my life, John.
Well, I
Remember, I
tell
used to be a
you,
chef, buddy.
I don't have the equipment to do it. I tried it. That last bone-in whole one that I got from the local guy, I could not get the bones out off of that thing to save my life. It was a
I don't know
nightmare.
what you're doing wrong because you just cut right down the base of it and it just
What do you
pops
cut
right
it
off.
with? What do you cut it with?
Well, I got that big butcher knife, buddy.
You ain't cutting through bones with a butcher knife.
You don't have to cut through the bone. You cut right around it.
Okay. Well, I couldn't get this thing apart. I'm going to uh, Publix will take the bone off and then they'll band it back on there for you if you got to have it on there for some reason.
The only
I
way
don't
that you
like,
wouldn't have gotten the bone off is if they still left part of the spine on.
oh yeah, there's a lot of the spine there. And that you're
Well,
going to,
if they
the
cut it
ones,
right, it should be on the it should be
well,
just
the
off of the
ones from,
spine, and
the
then you
ones from
just
Publix have that
flip it.
same spine. So let them get that off for you. The I don't like bone in. I am one of the, when it comes to prime rib, I'd rather have boneless. I'd rather cook mine without the bone. Scott, I don't know. The first time I tried to do a turkey on the rotisserie on mine is that's when my motor gave up the ghost, and I had to go buy a third party motor. The motor that comes with the rotisserie is junk, and I'm not afraid to say that. It cannot. They say you can put 50 pounds on it, but let me tell you, if that 50 pounds is not perfectly balanced, you don't stand a chance.
It ain't.
It's not going
No.
to work. I bought a third
And
party.
Scott, if you're going to do that, stick with about a 14-pound turkey. I wouldn't go over that with the rotisserie. I really wouldn't because,
Well,
like I say, as John was saying, if you don't get that thing exactly balanced, you're just asking for trouble. It'll sit there, it'll go for a while, and all of a sudden, it's going to get stuck in one position, and it's going to get stuck in that position when you're in the house, and you're going to walk out to a black turkey.
I bought a third party motor for mine, and it's strong enough to handle anything I want to put on it. And like I said, like I've told you guys before, I'm not a big fan of rotisserie cooking to begin with, but that motor, I broke that motor the first time I tried to do a turkey on mine, and the turkey that I had on there was it was 16 or 17 pounds. It was not, and it was as balanced as I could get it. It's not easy to balance a turkey on a spit. So
You really almost need the balancing block on the end of the spit to get it to balance.
well, let me
And
tell
Scott
you,
Harmon,
in fact,
on the beer can, don't do a beer can. Spatchcock it. You'll be a lot happier.
since Thanksgiving's coming up, Jeff, I think next week I'll round up my rotisserie motor and I'll bring it in here and I'll show you guys the rotisserie motor I bought. If you are a serious fan of the rotisserie, I'm going to recommend that you replace your motor with one of these ones like the one I bought. I had the problem with replacing the rotisserie motor is the part that the rotisserie that motor slides onto is thick. It's thicker than the typical metal pieces that these rotisseries are designed to slide on. And you got to have one that's opened up further. The regular run-of-the-mill, good quality rotisserie motors that you can find out there won't fit on the rotisserie. You're going to have to tweak it to make it fit. And that's what I had to do. But it's this motor I've got will turn anything I want to put on there, and I don't have to worry about the possibility of it stripping the gears. The gears in that rotisserie motor are plastic and they're flimsy, and I don't know. I know when the rotisserie first came out, that was the biggest failure right off the bat was people were stripping the gears in the motor, and it was unfortunate because they did advertise it as it was rated at 50 pounds, and there's just no way. I can't imagine that motor being able to handle. I can't imagine it being able to handle 50 pounds that is balanced. It's just not
50
there.
pounds, it's chugging. And Mike says he likes the turbo trussing better than spatchcocking. I totally agree. I love my turbo trussers, but I'm just saying if you're gonna do beer can, I'd rather do spatchcock than beer can.
Well, with turkeys, you got to be careful if you're not using a Big Joe, and even if you are using a Big Joe, a spatchcock turkey takes up a lot of real estate on the grill.
Mhm.
A 15 pounder is going to eat up most of your grill space. Night, Mom. I'll talk to you tomorrow, and it's
Night,
going to eat up
Mom.
most of your. It's going to be eat up most of your grill space. You can't get a huge turkey spatchcock, but the turbo trusser, you can use that in conjunction with the rotisserie, and that will actually help you balance your bird. It'll keep the bird tight together, and you won't have a leg flopping uh, and getting your balance way off.
That and the other nice thing is the rod goes through that hole in the turbo trusser,
Right.
which kind of keeps it, when you have that centered, it kind of keeps it from doing that flop on that end. That's where you get unbalanced on the turkeys, is that end is so big that it just wants to flop around.
So I'll try to remember to bring that motor inside. It's in my shed out back. I'll show you the motor I've got. I think I'll probably spent $50 on that motor. It's not a cheap motor, but it's the last motor you'll need for rotisserie. But I don't know. If all you're going to do is spin wings, and the rotisserie motor is probably okay for everything but turkey. It's going to handle most chicken you'll put on there, and people are wanting to spin wings in the basket. That's pretty well balanced, and you can't put more than 4 pounds of wings in one of those baskets. And or I don't know about the new Kamado Joe basket. I think it looks to me like it might hold a little bit more than the Napoleon basket does, but I haven't had my hands on one, and I won't. I'm not gonna get one. So you guys will have to find another source of information on that one. I'm just not gonna buy it. It's $200 for something I wouldn't use, so I'm not gonna bring one in here. Are you getting it, Jeff?
Not that I'm aware of.
So there's some video content out there on it. I know Scott Bartlow from Bartlow's Barbecue on YouTube has got one, and I think he's made some video content with it.
I take that back. I do have one supposedly coming from a friend.
Yeah. Well, maybe Jeff can give us some insight on it when he gets it, but I'm not going to get one. I don't currently have any plans to use the rotisserie at any point in the future. I'm just everything I can use it, like the pork loin that I did today. We talked about that the other week. Pork loin is probably my favorite thing to cook on the rotisserie, but anything else I don't like cooking it on the rotisserie. I'd rather cook different methods. It's just not my jam. It's not that it's not good. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to put down the rotisserie, because it's good at what it does, and if you like cooking that way, then it's the right tool. But it's just not the right tool for me.
I'll tell you what, that pork roast, that bone-in pork roast I did,
Yeah,
that was really good on the rotisserie.
I need to find out if I'm gonna, Tanya.
Mhm.
I was not gonna renew the Costco membership, because we don't go down there that often. But I'm wondering if they're gonna have that rack of pork, or if they've got it back in yet.
I don't know.
Last time I went, it wasn't in. So with Costco, it's hard to say. It's gone and it reappears.
Well, the
Well, that rack of
Costco
pork
is
was
60 miles from
great.
here. It's 50 or 60 miles from here, and they do have some things I can't get at Sam's Club, but I don't know that it's worth me buying an extra membership and having to drive that far to get it. So.
Well, see, like I said, I'm lucky. I have 4 Costco's within 20 miles. I've got 2 BJ's within 11 miles.
Mhm.
And I've got at least 3 Sam's within.
What I need to do is I need to talk to the guys at Publix and see if I can talk them into making me a French rack of pork, because they get at Publix.
I'm sure they would.
The butchers out there are really nice. All you got to do is ask them, and they've never turned me down for anything I've asked for. And I bought a whole bone-in rack of pork from them, and I ran into the same problems with it getting the bone off as I did with the prime rib or with the whole ribeye. 2-pack of the Truff hot sauce. That's a good deal because that stuff's $15 a bottle. That's like buy one get one free.
Yep.
If you like the Truff. My favorite Truff was the spicier version with the red label. That black one though has a very, very powerful black truffle oil flavor and aroma to it. It's almost too much for me, but it's an intriguing hot sauce. I bought the white label bottle also. I've tried all 3 of them, and they've got some more product out now that I haven't followed very closely because the price of the Truff is more than I'll spend. The hot sauces that I like are $1 or $2 a bottle. I like that. Tanya, what is it? The Valentina and the Crystal. Those are great hot sauces for cooking. Jeff, have you tried those?
Well,
No, I have not.
Tried and true Texas Pete or Cholula. Love my Cholula.
But I keep Valentina. When I want to cook with hot sauce, I use that Valentina because I get it for $1 a bottle. And it's when it comes to cooking, any nuances that these hot sauces have are lost in the cook. Now for a finishing sauce, it's a different story. If I'm going to drizzle hot sauce on a finished item, that's when you need to start looking at things like Truff, where the nuances it has are going to shine through, but not for cooking. And I've had a really, really good hot pepper harvest this year. I've harvested a lot of habaneros and a lot of ghost peppers, and I haven't figured out what I'm going to do with the ghost peppers yet, but I've got a lot of it. I've got all of those finely diced and dried. So whenever I make chili, whenever I get some chili going, I might split the chili into 2 batches and make some of that chili with ghost pepper and see what happens. See if we can handle it. So what are you guys cooking this week? Let's see. Norm says it's great on eggs. Yep. I don't have any doubt. Tanya drizzles hot sauce on her eggs, and I typically don't, but I don't have anything against it. I've done it before. I like putting some barbecue rubs on eggs. I like to shake on some various varieties of barbecue rubs. Tanya, have you tried Pork Mojo on eggs?
I think I have actually. I think I've tried just about all those on eggs.
Pork belly. You know, that might be something I'll grab next week too. Tanya, do you know I can get pork belly and tri-tip at Food Line up here now?
Seriously?
Yeah, they got pork belly, they got tri-tip, and they've got brisket. I won't buy their brisket because it's too expensive, but Norm's got 3 pork butts and a brisket. Yeah, I've got a pork butt in my refrigerator here that I need to get cooked. I bought it. Where did I buy that? Oh, that's that one I bought at Piggly Wiggly, Tanya.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll tell you what I really like on eggs is Sunny Paris. That's my absolute favorite.
Guys, if you have one of those Penzeys spice shops near you anywhere, they've got this herb blend called Sunny Paris that's I don't know what all's in it, but Tanya loves it. And she had some of it, and I knocked the jar off the counter and broke it, and I had to get her some more.
Yeah, but thank God he's stocked up, and he bought like 4 bottles, and I have been steadily working my way through it.
Carnitas are something that I'm not as in tune with that. Maybe I need to talk to Jan.
I don't think hot sauce ever goes bad.
Oh, it doesn't. Hot sauce is good forever.
It's one of those apocalyptic products. You can save it.
These
Ryan, Twinkies.
I wanna try taco beer. These birria tacos. I want to try that. And guys, one of the things I'm thinking about bringing in here after I get rid of the wood fired oven, I'm seriously considering revisiting the griddle concept. I like cooking on the griddle, and the one I had, I bought one of the cheap small ones, and there were only two things that kept me from not loving that. Number one is I couldn't use it. I couldn't make video content with it because it wasn't something that I could really promote. And number two, it was not as big as I would like to have had. I didn't spend the money to buy the larger one, and I'm now looking at a 36-inch one that is very, very possibly going to be what I bring in if I can unload this Alpha oven. I've got a couple of.
Okay, John.
Huh?
Think about this now. You said you liked the flavor profile that the Masterbuilt gravity feed produces. Why don't you get the 800 with the griddle? That griddle works great on that thing.
I can't. After having had two Masterbuilt gravity feeds here, I won't buy another one because I don't like the build quality on that. It's the
build quality is not.
Yeah, if it weren't for the build quality, I'm with you. I do love the idea. I love the way it cooks, and I hate the build quality on those grills. They're great grills. They do well, but I don't.
We had more pushing, pulling, stretching to get the thing put together than you shake a stick at.
Yes, if I had one of those, I would be. If I had one and kept it, I feel like within 3 years I'll have worn it out. It'll be junk. The way I use grills, it'll be.
Mine is 2 years old now, and it's still in pristine shape. I mean, it cleans up nice. It's held up good.
How often do you cook on it?
Probably 3-4 times a month.
Yeah, see, I would be using it 2 to 3 times that if I had one. And if I bought another one, I wouldn't buy the 800. I'd buy the 560 because I don't need the space that the 800 or the 1050 offers. I think the 560 is great in terms of space, but the grid. I don't want a charcoal fire griddle. That's a bit more costly to operate than a propane griddle. Ryan, I'm not familiar with that one. The one I'm looking at is called the Loco, the Loco griddle, I think is what it's called. LOCO, lococookers.com, I think is where I saw it. And the only thing that it's got 2 features that I really like. It's got a, let me see if I can find that.
And Norm, you will love the Sunny Paris. Be generous with it.
The Loco griddle has a digital temperature control. This is what I'm.
That is what's nice about that grill. You can.
I don't know how accurate it is. I don't know how accurate it is, but I like the concept that I can turn the dial on one of those burners to a degree setting and know where I need to be. And the other thing I like about this one is it's got a built-in cover where I don't have to worry about buying a separate cover for that because these things need to be kept dry, and for obvious reasons, those iron griddles will rust. I'm not familiar with the leg griddle. Let me see if I can find that. That's one I don't think I've heard of. So. Leg griddle.
It's French.
Well, is that it? Is that what that looks expensive.
Well, he said it was the Rolls Royce.
Oh.
He says it seems to be the Rolls Royce.
Is that the one that Janice was talking about that's $5,000?
Starts at $2,900 for the small one and goes up to $5,000.
No, I can do without that.
The size that I would want would be 4298. Nah.
Hey Ryan, I tell you what, you buy that thing and let me know how you like it, and if you like it that well, I'll consider it. I'll have a look at it.
And if you don't like it, you can give it to John.
Mhm. Yeah, do that. And when you decide you're not going to use it anymore, I'll buy it for you. I'll give you half what you got in it if you deliver it. So yeah, but I watched a couple of videos on that loco, and I kind of like it. It's a little more expensive than the Blackstone stuff, but I think I like it a little better.
And Jordan, the best use for leftover brisket is either cottage pie or brisket pizza. And if you're
Yeah.
going to do brisket pizza, you take the Atlanta Grill sweet and white sauce, mix it 50-50, and that becomes your sauce for your pizza.
Hey Ryan, that pellet. Hey Ryan wants my pellet, Joe. It's listed. It's on Facebook Marketplace. If you want to run up here and get it, you'll get it for a bargain. I'm getting rid of that too because I don't use it.
You know, and that's a shame. I love my pellet, Joe. I tell you what, that is my quick go-to, and that's my wing cooker. I mean, that is the ultimate wing cooker.
Man, I
And
don't know.
Ryan, if you do decide to come up here, make sure that you schedule the time with me. I might have you pick up a couple items from your hometown while you're heading in.
So yeah, it's but that the pellet Joe is leaving and the Alpha's leaving, and I'm cleaning off the space. Yeah, the gas grill's going. I'm not keeping the gas grill either.
Doesn't
I've
bother me
already
about the grass grill. Keep the
I've
alpha.
already, I've already horse traded the gas grill, but the guy that I've horse traded it to hasn't come to get it yet. So I did a little trading for some non-grill related stuff that he has that I want. I'm getting rid of the gas grill. So
The
all
only
right,
way I'm getting rid of my wood grill is if I get a bigger one.
yeah. I just don't use the Alpha enough to keep it. And most of my audience is not using that. It's one of these situations where it's nice, it's fun to cook on, but it's not where my audience interests
I
lie.
understand that. I mean, if you're doing things, for your audience, then
Mhm.
it's not.
Well,
But I mean, for
that's the
me, I
kind of
love
thing
it.
I want to focus on. Very few people that follow me have these wood-fired ovens. Very few. There's not many. And
And the majority of them that have anything wood fired are probably using a rock box or some
right, and
Dodsley.
I've got the rock box, and I'm probably going to hang on to it because that will give me the ability to do Neapolitan pizza if I want to do it, and it does it very well. I've done lots of Neapolitan pizzas on that thing, so I'm going to keep the rock box. But yeah, Ryan, that pellet joke can be yours.
If the price is right.
All right, guys, we got to wrap up. I'm tired. I'm ready to call it a day. I'm brain drained. We've been doing Python all day again today, and my mind is shot. And this glass of Jack Daniels has helped me move myself towards dreamland.
I was going to say that Dreamland. That's about where I am right now. I mean, you can see it in my eyes. I'm ready.
Yeah. Well, Jeff, you've been on the road all day. I've been sitting
I
in front of
have.
the computer all day.
Not
Two
I
different.
I was
tonight,
up
Ryan.
at
Not
4 o'clock in
tonight.
the morning. And I was on the road.
Yeah. All
Oh.
right, guys. Y'all have a good week, and we'll see you next week.